the way that classic Tetris works, you're not guaranteed any piece. I mean, we've seen in the Honda Fan Cup, Somali or Lay rather, he went 68 pieces without receiving a long bar, which that is, a statistical anomaly in of itself. But you have to be able to understand it's like, okay, the eyepiece is not coming. I'm going to have to, take a couple of burns here. That's when you really start to focus on defensive stacking as opposed for offensive stacking that you saw Broden doing a lot of that particular matchup.
Indeed. Well, speaking of stacking, I see that this is a stacked head-to-head. So I'm going to go ahead and let Chris and Sharky continue on with the party, and I'll be back after this next round. Thanks, gang.
Thank you, guys.
All right, and there we go. We have Cam, so you can actually really see the rolling in action. It's definitely a unique way to hold the controller, but the benefits definitely supersede its awkwardness, I guess you can say.
Fractal right off to a rather awkward start with that middle.
Wow.
Setting up a solve for it.
Yeah, executing those spin tucks on TEC is actually very impressive.
And Fractal looking very comfortable with the rolling.
This is a little bit of kind of what we talked about is, with Fractal being newer to TEC, and Scotto has definitely had a lot more time to practice. I mean, Scotto has participated in, I believe, Scotto has participated in every single Honda Cup that they can, minus, the fourth one since they were able to win week 3. So Scotto has a lot of practice. And, oh no, Fractal in a bit of danger.
Really showing confidence in the movement there. Can Fractal survive up that high?
A lot of these last second placements, and this is what rolling allows you to do, just really essentially teleport pieces left and right.
Yeah, the power of rolling on display here. Fractal very obviously having mastered it here in TEC. That's the one of the X factors that we weren't too sure of coming in. Did Fractal grind this game for the past 2 weeks in prep for the Honda Cup and the prize money being on the line? The answer might be yes.
And look at that, Fractal's all the way down to the bottom, but now it's Scotto's turn to kind of demonstrate his versatility, just having to survive a similar height as Fractal, maybe a couple rows shorter. But is also doing so masterfully.
Yeah, good. Scotto here is almost out.
Oh, nice delayed burn right there. Last second rotation.
And boom, Tetris or Scotto.
Excellent play here at the beginning, just really showing, both of these players, especially Fractal coming out, got into an incredibly dire situation and was able to survive it and come out not with a point deficit, but with a point advantage.
Yeah. And yeah, now Fractal back down into safety is gonna look to score and score again. Look at that rolling. You can see the hand position. It looks like they're flicking the bottom of the controller, and you need to do that with multiple fingers in order to be able to move the pieces that fast to the left and right. But in doing so, you're able to maneuver the pieces in places that other players won't be able to do it.
In terms of how I would describe the playstyle rolling, it is incredibly hard to learn and hard to master. But when you master it, the rewards are exponential.
That's right, and players who are formerly tappers, most of them are either transitioning to or learning and taking up rolling. And we'll see that trend continue perhaps into the next competitive season.
Right now, 274, make that 297,000 for Fractal and 232 for Scotto. Scotto not too far behind, but just getting in that one situation and lacking some efficiency to clean out fast enough has allowed Fractal to kind of build up a small lead.
Yeah, Fractal content to play off of row 2, so just leaving that open hole on the lower left corner and build on top with Tetris's.
Right now, we are looking at around a 400, maybe even a 500K transition with enough efficiency, but it's likely we're going to get like a 480 somewhere around there.
Scotto with a miss just a moment ago. Love to see it. Vertical eye tuck setup.
Boom, Tetris for Fractal. And this is a dangerous thing because Fractal is now starting to get momentum. Fractal has been taking very few burns.
Yeah, just built up on row 2 like that. Just bang down the Tetrises. There's another one. Boom, Tetris for Fractal. Scotto finally Tetris ready. It's a long bar. Boom, Tetris for Scotto.
Right now we are just under 4 Tetrises away from the level 19 transition. And you're going to really see Fractal, and this is going to be our test to see if Fractal, Fractal has been able to handle 18 speed with rolling. How proficient will they be at 19?
Yeah, that's going to make a big difference because you absolutely have to. When you're moving the piece up as high as Fractal does, you're going to need that rolling to not just be fast, you need it to be precise. And any misdrops can and will be fatal, so we'll see if that's a factor here post 19.
Just around the 500,000 transition for Fractal and Scotto with a low 400. And that misdrop, a little bit unfavorable for Fractal. So Scotto has a small window to potentially close the gap by at least a Tetris.
And one looming factor that we may see happen is even if Fractal isn't the most efficient going into level 29, players like Fractal and Eric ICX who can survive for sustained periods of time post 29 can possibly just infinitely play. And we haven't seen it in TEC yet, but this might be the day.
Yeah, the furthest level we saw in TEC was once again in Honda Cup week 2 with Huff versus Eric, and Huff was able to get to level 41 before topping out.
As we saw in the World Championships, Fractal being right there with Eric in terms of the capability to survive prolonged burning at level 29 speeds.
Right now, both players are in a little bit of a prolonged burn here on level 23 and level 23 for both players.
Yeah.
So right now, Fractal might be spending a lot more time, so this is actually a great opportunity for Scotto. And Scotto, a couple of misdrops for Fractal, actually.
Oh, yeah, I mean, Scotto at this point, if Scotto can make more Tetrises here when the points are worth more, has less work to do to catch up than earlier in the round.
Fractal is going to be able to survive, but the lead has decreased by around 30,000 points. And Scotto's going to knock down another Tetris, so now we are neck and neck.
We are neck and neck.
Fractal still can't score right now.
Yeah, Scotto in good shape now. Tetris ready.
Oh, another double flip over there for Fractal.
Boom, Tetris for Scotto into the lead now by Tetris.
Fractal in the danger zone here, really seeing that rolling come into play, getting those pieces over.
Ooh, built up the middle high, but is able to get through it with rolling.
Right, held out for that long bar, makes another misdrop, and we're kind of running out of time to make these kind of misdrops. But also Scotto's
playing aggressive, gets a dirty Tetris there, and burns back down to the bottom. Scotto up by 2 Tetrises now. But level 29 is coming, and that's going to be Fractal's advantage here, being able to play post 29, and Fractal being in great shape going into it.
Yeah, this is Fractal's ace in the hole, and it's going to need it because down by around 2 to 3 Tetrises worth, and only has one more burn line, and Fractal's going to do the rest of it. No Tetris is scored on 28, so it's going to have to show some incredible 29 play.
Scotto does not get a long bar.
All right, so Fractal needs to chase down 741,000, and this is what we talk about when we talk about 29 play, and able to get that piece all the way over to the left. Still need 53,000 more points.
Burns here. It's still incredibly dangerous. One misdrop can end it all.
Yeah, so far, a couple rough pieces, so having to, Fractal 48,000 points away, but pieces aren't falling. Fractal needs them.
Is not able to complete the chase down. Scotto wins the first round.
What a sigh of relief that must be for Scotto. We're talking about, a player that can play on the level 29 speeds and Scotto only being able to really give himself a 60,000 point cushion.
Right. Scotto just performing amazingly there towards the end of the level 19 speeds, able to hold out against just the massive threat that is rolling in Fractal. So hybrid style actually viable in competition here in the year 2022.
We saw a bit of what, Fractal's been able to showcase. That was the first game, and this is a best of 3. If Fractal can get a lot of those misdrops contained on level 19, we could be looking at some terrifying Tetris.
Yeah, we're still early in the day, and, with a few games under Fractal's belt today, that could change, and the consistency could reach the point where we'll see continuous level 29 speed.
I mean, we've also seen that happen with some of our players that are actually in the bracket nowadays. As the day progressed, they just got better and better. Yep. I mean, Smooth comes to,
Definitely, yes, or the last week qualifier. Feels like yesterday, but it was really last week.
Yeah, especially, in the decider, Smooth up against Zalix, able to get a 1.1 million score to, send Zalix home and get the last spot.
Yeah, just the scoring potential and the aggression just increasing as it becomes more important and more money's on the line. But today, especially $10,000 prize pool, we are here in the money.
Yeah, these players are trying to fight for a shot at $3,000 for first place. And in order to do that, you essentially have to go through the gauntlet.
Yeah, all the players here in our Hana Cup grand finale are so skilled and so cracked. It's you can't come into this without being one of the best in the world.
Yeah, and of course, we could see a rematch between our CTWC finalists. Fractal and Eric are both in here, and both of them have shown quite some terrifying proficiency in terms of rolling.
Yeah, that would be a repeat of what happened in the Classic Tetris World Championships just a couple of weeks ago. And we'll see if, both these players have been grinding this game out, with so much money on the line. I don't see how they couldn't.
225,000 for Fractal right now. Scotto down by around 2 Tetrises, but doesn't have the cleanest of boards. So Fractal has the opportunity to kind of accentuate this lead.
Nice efficiency there by Scotto, burning this down. It's just a couple of burns away from opening it back up. Nice. Boom, Simul Tetris.
But, we talk about Fractal's achievements, and, both these players have something very unique that they've done. Scotto, in particular, he was the first person to ever memorize a seed in, Classic Tetris and play it out perfectly. Inputs all perfectly placed, everything, no misdrops, and get, a 1.5. And Fractal himself was the first player to play so far into the regular version of NES Tetris that the color palette broke.
Yeah. So already these players deep into breaking the game in ways that the original designers did not intend it to be played, because just being able to score and play and move the pieces in ways that, the humans could not foresee back 30 years ago.
Even now, when we're talking about it, it just kind of seems like insane, because that was, almost 40 minutes of just straight playing on, a very fast speed, where all it takes is just one wrong misdrop and that run's done.
Yeah. And in light of that, our competitive scene, it's shifting and it's adapting, and we have to make decisions in our rule sets to accommodate for, this incredible increase in skill. So the future is really exciting and bright. We don't know where it's going to lead us, but I think in the end, all us players and viewers are going to be the winners, because we're going to keep playing this amazing game of Tetris.
Thinking about this amazing game of Tetris, both Scotto and Fractal, and not necessarily the most ideal position. Scotto might be able to close the gap here. Pieces fall.
Fractal having a lot of dependencies forming up high. Let's see if Fractal can burn this down efficiently and keep the lead.
Ooh. Seemed like Fractal wanted to rotate that, but didn't quite nail the rotations on either of those.
Wow. That could get
Fractal.
dangerous. Yeah, forced to place things in the middle there. When you create a spire in the middle, if a piece hangs, then that can be fatal.
Right now, Fractal, and we are actually nearing the transition too.
Yeah.
All right, good burns. Only has 10 lines to work with before the speed increases.
Waiting for a better piece. Gets it.
Love an
And,
eyepiece here.
Really dirty Tetris well there.
Love an eyepiece here. And there it is.
Boom, dirty Tetris for Fractal into transition just in time, getting that board back under control.
Opens up the center wall, and there it is. Another boom Tetris for Fractal. And Scotto is going to transition at 477. So still has the advantage being behind nearly a level in terms of pacing. But I mean, that's just another thing. You're looking, both of these players are seeing their opponent's screen in real time. And you look at it as like, all right, cool. You know, maybe they might top out here. And then you see your opponent do that.
Yeah, get out of that situation. It can be intimidating. But this is actually a really close game. Scotto being behind in lines has a little bit more runway to work with.
Right now, Fractal back up to a 63,000 point lead. Scotto is still just under a level behind, so could close that to be around neck and neck pace wise. But there's also, you know, a huge problem because in game one, Scotto had the lead throughout majority of the post transition, and Fractal was forced to chase down said score on 29. In this game, it's Fractal that has the lead, and Scotto has very limited 29 playability.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a factor here, so Scotto's time is running out. And Fractal with a stronger game here now. Clean.
Scotto hangs a couple
that
pieces.
left side's going to be impossible, and we could see a top out, and that's what happens. And Fractal is going to take that round, and we are 1-1.
Yeah, just really dominant display following that dig going into transition.
So yeah, still highly competitive game here forming in a best of 5.
You know, once again, we are tied 1-1.
Same placements, well, to start off. Scotto with 2 pushdown points.
Yeah, trying to one-up Broden from the 1 pushdown point from earlier. And, ooh, things are actually pretty complicated for both players. Neither player was really able to kind of establish a clean start here.
Yeah, there's some burns going on, and not the best placements for Fractal, but is able to bang down that Tetris and things back under control.
Yeah.
And take some digs.
Much needed Tetris there. And at the end of the day, you know, bringing the stack down gives you more time to think, because even though on 18 pieces are falling, you know, from top to bottom 1 second, that's still not a lot of time to think about placements, especially when you're trying to solve certain situations like this, where you might be running into some patterns you're not used to.
Fractal with some what appeared to be misdrops there. I didn't really see a way to cleverly solve that. So once again, requiring some digs. There are some issues with accuracy and rolling. Sometimes if you flap, you know, too many fingers, not enough fingers, you'll get extra inputs or not enough inputs. And that's one thing that we've seen versus, say, a hybrid style or tapping or DAS. That rolling might have some issues with accuracy, but it's still worth it. It's still worth doing.
Yeah, and that just, you know, kind of uplifts players that are able to be stupidly accurate in terms of what they're able to do with rolling. Just being able to be that accurate when there's so many things that can go not necessarily in the right direction.
Yeah, having to deal with adjustments and things like that. Being able to execute on all that within, you know, mere moments and, you know, less than a second of reaction time.
Yeah, but when we talk about things going in the way of players, Scotto right now currently has a 132,000 point lead. There are 50 lines at 220,000. Fractal just about to finally break the 6 digits here, looking for a long bar for a Tetris to do so. So
Yeah,
this is the kind of game that Scotto needs.
Yep. Yeah, all those burned lines on Fractal's side has given Scotto the biggest advantage we've seen thus far today.
157 and now 268.
So Fractal's starting to fire back now with the playfield under control, ready to score, being Tetris ready.
And a couple rough pieces for Fractal, not able to quite utilize that eye piece for a Tetris, but gets another one. Nice spin over there for Scotto into a Tetris. And
So
if
yeah,
you're Scotto, you just want to hold on to this lead as long as possible.
Yeah. Scotto with some good momentum here, has had a clean board pretty much the whole time. And is rewarded with that points advantage.
So far, I mean, when we talk about 29 play and, you know, the fact that Fractal can play on 29, at that point, you know, a lot of it obviously comes down to execution, but it's what you're able to mentally accomplish, because having to know that you have to chase down a 100,000 point, you know, deficit, assuming that this lead holds all the way going into 29. Now you have to make decisions like, all right, do I want to try and go for a Tetris here, or do I want to, you know, prolong my chase down? But then when you decide to prolong your chase down, is how much could you keep your focus before, you know, you make a misdrop, and that misdrop potentially being a game-ending one. So it's a delicate balancing act on 29 when we talk about how to approach a chase down situation.
Yeah, and once again, this version of Classic Tetris having the 2-minute chase down timer also being a factor.
Yeah, that is true. You know, we might actually see that come into play with, you know, around 4 players in our brackets having the capacity to roll on TEC.
Scotto really holding up with the long bar there, going from triple into Tetris, maintaining that 100,000 point lead.
Yeah, and still also slightly behind in lines. So
Yeah.
Scotto's doing everything that needs to be done right now. Scotto is being able to do that. But the transition will be entering in soon. And Fractal, even though it has had a little bit of a rough time here on level 18, has the ability to get pieces a lot further than Scotto can. So we will transition next Tetris for Fractal.
Set up for it. Opts to cover it up.
And it has to triple into level 19. Takes a double, and there it is. Boom, Tetris for Fractal. Scotto knocks down a Tetris, but also has a little bit of burning that has to be done as well.
Yeah, sacrifice the stack a little with that misdrop, but comes out of it okay.
Yep. 569, make that 594 to now 492. Still holding on to this 100,000 point lead.
Yeah. So yeah, now both players, good fields. We'll see if the speed changes the complexion of the match as they play. Well, okay, Scott opting to move the well over back to the right, so that's going to take a few burns.
There it is, boom, Tetris for Fractal.
Boom, Tetris for Scott.
Still down by around 100,000 points. So not really able to find like any true headway. Scotto is going to have to take a couple of burns here, so it's going to be a decrease in the deficit. And oh, that misdrop.
Nice flat burns.
Fractal knocks down another Tetris, now down by 46,000.
Yeah, Scotto's super efficient.
Yeah, Tetris 30, and there it is. Boom, Tetris for both players, but the lead is shrunk all the way down to 46,000 points. Fractal is
Still
not going to do
ahead
some
by
burning.
lines. So Scotto with a little more runway. And boom, Tetris for Scotto. And And Fractal getting a Tetris on row 2 there, burning back down to the bottom afterward. Scotto, board looking better.
Starting to knock down Tetrises consecutively.
Yeah. So yeah, Scotto maintaining the aggression, maintaining the pace. Still ahead, or still behind by line, so still has a bit more runway. And we'll probably see that chase down factor post 29 come into play.
But oh no, those complications. Now Scotto is in a dire situation, has to get pieces over to the left. And that hang, and that's gonna do it. Scotto's gonna top out at 786. Fractal just needs one Tetris and has all the time in the world to do so.
Yeah, can line it out here. Not much of a points lead there for Scotto at the end of this one.
Set up for the Tetris, and there it is. Boom, Tetris for Fractal, taking game number 3. Now in the lead, 2-1.
Fractal completing the chase down that time. No level 29 play necessary. And Scotto just having that situation spiral out of control suddenly isn't able to amass big enough of a lead to force Fractal into 29 play. And in chat, we can see Fractal seems to have adjusted an issue with the controller and could be playing better in these next rounds.
We'll see. But now Scotto has to win this game in order to go to a decider. But the tournament life is still going to be alive. This is a double elimination. So,
right.
Scotto does get knocked out. Still has one more chance, and at our bottom bracket we already have lay down there.
And there are also matches going on the Classic Tetris channel. So if you want more Tetris than you can handle, tune in to Classic Tetris to see some of the other matches that are going on.
Ooh, Fractal missing a spin there. It's gonna cause a couple more burns. But once again, spins and maneuvers of that nature, they're not the easiest thing to hit. I mean, we've already mentioned earlier, but you only have 3 frames to hit a spin on level 18, and only 2 on level 19.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a frame difference between playing on the 8-bit system and on the current platform here in Tetris Effect Connected. So if you're missing your spin by 1 or 2 frames, that could be a misdrop.
Speaking of a misdrop, Fractal accidentally double rotated that long bar. Still gonna get the Tetris, but Scotto now has an opportunity to kind of increase the lead.
Yeah, clean board. Boom, Tetris for Scotto. Up to 60,000 points, and Fractal starting to develop a dependency there. It's only got to get a triple out of that.
I really feel like this is Scotto's win condition, to have so much of a lead going into 29 that Fractal feels time pressure and the pressure of having to play at that speed.
Yeah, seeing some more errors by Fractal, so maybe there is still an issue with the controller of some kind. And that's leading to this sort of prolonged dig.
Scotto.
Cam went out, but still playing. Fractal having to deal with the dig there, and Scotto up to 110,000 point lead.
Yeah, all things considered, Fractal down by this much, not just because of all the digs, but Scotto has had a very efficient opener. We're kind of in that around 70% Tetris rate territory.
Oh wow, nice dirty center well by Scotto there. Taking the Tetrises where they can come.
Yeah. Fractal is now cleaned up, and there it is. Boom, Tetris for Fractal. 182,000 for Fractal, 311 for Scotto.
Yeah, Scotto continuing the aggression, continuing the great pace here. This is what you need to do to be competitive with the roller here in this year of 2022 and players rolling.
Yeah, just a little bit over halfway through. So we are looking at a high 500 transition from Scotto and somewhere in the 400, probably like 440 territory for Fractal. So Scotto can keep this up, especially throughout. The most important part is keeping this up through the post transition. Fractal is going to have a tough game.
Yeah, though Scotto just really having great placements and not committing any mistakes, and then Fractal on the other side, having to deal with a lot of misplacements and doing a lot of burns. We'll have to make up those points some other way.
Yeah, and that's where, we mentioned earlier, rolling is going to come into effect on level 19 and beyond, because just the extra maneuverability kind of allows Fractal to have more risk tolerance, and where Scotto has to compromise with RNG, Fractal can keep building.
Yeah, keep building. But once again, you have to still be accurate, and rolling is nothing if you can't place the piece where it needs to go. So we'll see if Fractal can get those misdrops under control when needed.
There it is. Boom, Tetris for Fractal, 372 to now 461. So Fractal actually starting to gain a little bit on the lead.
Yeah, recovering a bit now. Not burning any unnecessary lines at this phase.
Scotto just has been having trouble utilizing the long bars. The board has been clean almost this entire game for Scotto, but when you can't use the long bars to score Tetrises and your opponent can, it's easy for that lead to diminish. And look, we're down by now only 50,000 points. So Fractal has successfully cut the lead in half, leading into transition.
Yeah, Scotto now with the line burns late, level 18.
One Tetris
score.
And there it is. Fractal transitions at a 468. Scotto has one Tetris and is going to transition at a 524. So 55,000 points separating them at transition. We'll see if Scotto is able to somehow increase that into more comfortable levels.
Yeah, that lead melted away fast. Yeah, it seems as though Fractal has gotten a bit better with the piece placement and hasn't made any major misdrops in a while. So, oh, well, I spoke too soon. Because Fractal's building very interesting formation floating on top of the right side there. We'll have to burn that off. Might do so with a Tetris if the right pieces fall. But nope, looks like Fractal's just going to dig back down.
Yeah. Actually, for a moment there, Fractal did have the lead. Scotto, as a result of having a cleaner board, is obviously going to be able to take that lead back and bring it back into 1-2 Tetris territory. And several misdrops over there for Fractal.
Yeah, bit of a mess forming for Fractal there. Nice down to Tetris, has a couple holes to burn. So yeah, Scotto able to take advantage of those misdrops by Fractal. Back up to a 60,000 point lead now.
He is having to do a couple of burns, very nicely executed.
Yeah. So yeah, both these players able to get out of trouble. Fractal with some more misdrops, so that's really been key in Scotto being able to maintain this lead.
Fractal still staying alive, and that's one thing about a roller. They just have the ability to survive, and you can't really count on them to top out at any point.
Right. It's just that the kinds of mistakes that Fractal has been making dropping the pieces just leads to less score potential. But Fractal still survives it. Nothing too lethal yet. There's another multiple misdrops on Fractal's side. Holes forming in the stack.
It's a nice T-spin, but now we're kind of getting to dangerous territory, and a huge important part of 29 play is making sure that you're stacked.
Yeah. Scotto having to drill back down now is going to have to spend some lines to get back into safety.
Your stack has to be in order for a good 29 play, and right now this stack is not a stack I would like. But wow,
nice dirty from Fractal. That's going to score points. I mean, playing up that aggressive up high. It is what you need to do, but it could lead to a nasty situation, especially if you make a misdrop up that high and you can top out instantly.
But the thing is, Fractal is down by 36,000 points. 7 lines left till transition. Fractal might have to go and set up for a Hail Mary of a Tetris here. That's the only way Fractal is going to be able to really survive this.
9. Has to go back to that left side might be a problem. Can't get the long bar rotated in and tops out. Scotto is going to win that round, and we are 2-2. We have gone to a decider.
We are on the path of an upset here. Scotto still has to take this game number 5, but I mean, it's just a really difficult situation. We know Fractal is able to survive on those 29 speeds, but if the board is not in a good place to do so, then what good is the ability to roll on those kind of levels?
Yeah, and the compound misdrops plaguing Fractal's game, definitely the factor in that last round. Will that continue? Will Fractal work out these kinks to be able to take it back from Scotto here?
Yeah, looks like to start things off, players having to experience a tad bit of a small drought. Fractal is going to take a few more burns than Scotto here. And missed the T-spin tuck, which then again, you know, it's a T-spin tuck. It's going to be essentially twice as hard to hit as just a regular spin.
But yeah, Scotto, you know, even being a hybrid player without the rolling, executing really good placements, not making any misdrops, and then the exact inverse is Fractal having the speed to survive, but just not being able to place pieces to maintain a lead or to survive those misdrops near the end.
Speaking of survival, Scotto kind of in a dangerous situation.
Yeah, playing way up high. Okay.
Great, nice.
He's open it back up.
And there it is. Boom, Tetris for Scotto. But now we're kind of in, you know, a situation where Fractal and Scotto are very close. And what has been, you know, the games that Scotto has been able to win is by simply having a better score than Fractal going into 29. All the games so far that have happened that Fractal has won has come from Fractal having the score advantage going into transition, and of course, you know, if the game went to 29 going into 29.
Yeah, though Scotto's been playing just the way you need to. You know, if you're up against the roller, don't make mistakes, and with as much score efficiency as possible. Getting out of the digs as fast as you can without burning any unnecessary lines. Fractal content to build off of row 2 there, row 3, on row 3.
Yeah, a little less room to work with, but if the efficiency is good enough, then it can be worth it in some cases.
And go up dirty Tetris for Fractal. Having that aggression pay off, not having to burn those lines, trying to make as many Tetrises as possible.
I'm going to do a little bit of burning here. Couldn't really use those eyepieces for Tetrises, but same can be said for Scotto.
Fractal with another dirty Tetris. It's going to start drilling back down.
Yeah, double long bar dependent.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's one. Fractal's going to keep that right well. Dirty built on top. Row 3. Bags out of Tetris.
265 for Fractal and 256 for Scotto. And a little bit of misdrop over there for Fractal. So Scotto
continuing the misdrop on Fractal's side there. Compound misdrops now. Fractal's going to have to clean that up.
I'm not sure if that double rotation was intentional.
Likely not. Scotto looking really clean. Yeah, Fractal not able to clear those issues with whatever they are, but is able to dig back down quite nicely.
Not able to hit that rotation soon enough. We still have plenty of time before 19, but the issue is Scotto is able to generate a lead, or rather increase the lead, and Fractal just needs to get back into scoring position.
Yeah, the dig really plaguing Fractal right now. Just try to get that back open as efficiently as possible.
He's able to get access to the hole, so a little bit of the way there.
Yeah, look at like type B on Fractal screen. Just those holes are populated so evenly.
You're nearing the transition. Scotto now, this is massive. 100,000 point lead going into level 19. And Fractal still going for these aggressive Tetrises.
Yeah. So yeah, the amazing thing is that, yeah, Fractal's getting into trouble with some of these misdrops, but is able to get dirty Tetrises nonetheless. Which kind of helps mitigate the damage to the scoring potential that the misdrops would usually have. Okay, transition to level 19 on Fractal's side. Only a 343,000 point transition, which is very low compared to what we're used to seeing. Scotto not at transition yet, 110,000 point lead.
Scotto has to be very careful how 19 gets played. They have the lead. They don't need to go super aggressive. All the pressure right now is on Fractal.
Yeah, Fractal going for center well Tetris there. Nails it. But the board is not clean yet. Meanwhile, Scotto's is. Ready to score. Boom, Tetris for Scotto. Fractal with another misdrop.
Fractal could just get into a nice little streak of scoring Tetrises, then some progress can be made, but these misdrops keep populating right as soon as he's done fixing another one.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that, you know, if you get out of a dig, you know, that's your chance to score again, and Fractal hasn't been able to get that momentum back.
Yeah, trying very careful here not to build too many dependencies.
Yeah, I saw that too. Just clutch piece movement though, and getting it into a situation where it's Tetris ready. Boom, Tetris for Fractal. Much needed score there to avoid the long bar dependency just barely, and bangs down another Tetris. So Fractal back with the momentum now.
Scotto having to take a couple of burns. He's able to knock down a Tetris, but has the lead up by 119,000. It's going to increase that with that Tetris, but Fractal's going to cut it right back down.
Yeah, Fractal with some really clutch movement and some really good placements there. Able to stay in this. Still behind by 100,000 points, but getting the board back into a state where it can be scored on.
Now this is the problem. Scotto ran into trouble. Fractal has cut the lead down to now only 64,000 points. Two more Tetrises and Fractal would be essentially tied up. There's one.
Yeah, Fractal doing way better post 19. Scoring the Tetrises when they're worth more. Able to beat back the deficit. Now we're neck and neck.
Fractal takes the lead following that Tetris, and Scotto still is not able to score. In fact, just had another misdrop.
Yeah, now Scotto having the misdrop problem.
Things have taken a complete 180. Scotto is behind quite a few levels, but has to get in a scoring position soon. Fractal,
time's running out.
Another Tetris for Fractal.
Lead. Fractal in really good shape now. Seems to have gotten the momentum back. Is Tetris ready? Building up high and aggressive.
Oh no, the double flip right there. Needs to get the board under control. All right, the well is open. Needs an eyepiece. And he needs it now. All right, there's an eyepiece. There's the transition to 29. Oh, gets the piece all the way over the left.
Oh, the left side's going to be a problem. There's going to be enough for cannot get it. So Scotto is at a 20,000 point chase now. Gets the Tetris and takes the win.
What in...
Scotto has sent Fractal to the lower bracket. Oh my goodness.
Insane. Just that one misdrop on level 28 was essentially the game changer, because then it caused the board on 29 to not be really playable. And then Scotto just needed a Tetris, and going to conclude it with an 85,000 point lead going into 25 or 29.
Flat burn. Continues flat burning. This is what we call a Mullen when you play a little bit after your opponent is topped out, and Scotto showcasing that hybrid's still relevant.
Absolutely insane.
Wow, that was amazing and unexpected turn of events there. Fractal being, a player that could play on 29. If you're a hybrid player that does just taps and das, if you play against the roller, you have this huge, it's like, climbing Mount Everest to even be able to have a chance at winning a match like that. It's like David and Goliath situation. And we saw Scotto just persevere and able to send Fractal to the lower bracket in this first winners bracket round.
Absolutely. Hey, gang, excited to be joining you once again. And you know what, Sharky, let's talk about some of the things we saw. And actually, Chris, you had mentioned that there's this new generation. They're breaking the game every now and again. We see those 1,000,000-point differentials. We see everything again. Sharky, I'm curious what your thoughts are. What are some of the highlights, the headlines from that round for you?
I mean, for me, it's just the ability for Scotto to really hold on to those leads, because every single one of those games, they were pretty close leads. And had Scotto had any moment of, inefficiency or inconsistency during stacking on the post transition, then Fractal would have been able to take that game and we would have a different looking bracket.
I love it. And of course, we like to spice up a good bracket, right? That's the kind of tournament we want to see, something we're not expecting. Speaking of here, let's talk about this, Chris. Look at our bracket and talk to me a little bit about what this looks like to you. I mean, come on.
So yeah, we've been having matches on the Classic Tetris channel that we were not aware of, but we get to see the results of that here in the bracket. So first off, we have Eric ICX coming out of the other channel. The winner is now in winner semifinal versus Brodendamp. So you have the current reigning Tetris World Champion versus Brodendamp, the former record holder on TEC Classic Score Attack mode, against each other. So that's going to be a roller versus tapper battle again. And then now we're going to have Scotto against Hufflepuffus, who apparently came out victorious on the other channel as well. So that's going to be another amazing showdown. Scotto coming out of that huge, what you might call an upset victory against the Hufflepuffus, which won Honda Cup week 2.